Hi everybody, it's 9:23. Whether you are a grandparent or a parent, we all know life's full of unexpected changes and expected changes, but they can be positive, they can be devastating, and those transitions in life come with their own set of challenges.
Dr. Karen Ryan with Nystrom and Associates joins us to talk about all of this morning. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, good morning.
All right, let's talk about transitions. We kind of mentioned a few of them at the top of our show. I mean, these are transitions like moving out of the house for the first time. It can be marriage, having a baby, things like that.
Kids going to college, parents moving closer, further away. There's so many different times we have bigger transitions in our lives. Yes.
And those transitions, some of them are happy and some of them are not so happy. And how you deal with them is different. And a lot of times when the transition happens, you don't know how to deal with it. And you're dealing with emotions that you're not really familiar with dealing with.
Yeah, or we can be stuck in like expectations about how we think we should feel about transitions. And so I think one of the most important things is really just like giving honor and like recognizing and validating and acknowledging that a big transition has happened. Because sometimes when there's a big things coming up, I think about my grandma as we were talking about moving out of her home and into assisted living. I don't want to talk about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm like, Grandma, we have to. Let's talk about that. And so sometimes it's being able to validate that it's happening and just spend some time thinking, feeling, talking about it.
So in your guys' business, I was very interested reading about this, the Ron Life Stress Inventory. So somebody has, which I think is super smart, has taken and basically looked at these different things that can happen to you and put a number on it.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I find that helpful because at least your feelings are sort of vindicated, right? Like, oh, well, moving is like top 4 on this list. It made the list.
Exactly. Exactly. And oftentimes when, clients are coming in and you're doing like we do the intake, you kind of get assessment of what's going on in their lives. And oftentimes there's some of these things on the list and, being able to like, wow, you've got a lot going on. Those are really big transitions. Those add stress to our lives because when we have these transitions, it changes our normalcy. We have to get into new routines. Sometimes we have to have new meaning. We have to shift so many things. And so being able to like validate that, and those numbers are like, that makes sense. This isn't an 80 out of 100.
Like, holy crap, these top 5, every one of them's going on right now.
Yeah, and they can clump, right? Because a divorce can often mean moving, can often mean shifting, and then a lot of different things. Yeah.
Well, and people's views can be so different. Like I'm looking at, you've got a son who's in high school and he's going to go off to college next year. And I keep thinking about just your transition in life and how you are viewing it from what you tell me versus I'm sure how your wife is viewing it and how I as a woman might view it differently, which is probably why it's so important to talk about it, at least even in your own home, so partners are on the same page or at least can empathize with.
I think that's so important that you highlight that, Megan, because that being able to recognize we feel it differently or respond to it differently or have different needs is totally okay. And when you can understand, just knowing where that other person is, that really helps sometimes. Because sometimes we want to be on the same page, that can be helpful. And other times it's giving permission to have different feelings about it. And so I think that's another key thing of like, how do we help make these transitions go well? And so it's being able to let yourself have different emotions about it and different feelings about it.
That's like the mom-dad transition, but then like there's also the communication you have to have or you get to have with the person who's going through the transition. So I'm thinking of Dakota, right? And the conversations that you're having with him and that Kate is having with him.
And it can even be like having a conversation to say, what is it going to look like? How do you anticipate like calling us, FaceTiming, texting? Do you think we'll check in? Right? Like what will that be like? And not that it has to be set in stone, but sometimes like when there's a change coming, when it's like an expected one, can you do some planning? Right? So if somebody's moving out of their home and into assisted living, how are you going to work on going through things? When are you going to pack up? And so sometimes breaking things down makes it feel manageable and keeps us from avoiding it.
Well, I think the thing that you're talking about is the hardest thing for a lot of stoic Midwesterners to do, and that's to sit down and actually have a conversation about it.
Yes.
And not just one conversation, but a series of conversations, no matter what it is.
And conversations that tap into emotions, right? And that's why we avoid it, because they're emotional. And so us men sort of, oh, it's fine, we'll just do this, or And so giving that intentionality is important.
Do you have any tips or tricks on how we have these conversations, how we start them, where they happen, those types of things for people that are like, okay, this might be on the horizon for us?
Yeah, I like your highlighting that people might have different feelings and approaches, and so open-ended questions like, how are you feeling about this? what do you think would be helpful? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this could be really helpful. What do you feel about that? And so you're kind of tossing through your ideas together and kind of talking through what might be helpful, and then taking that chance to be vulnerable and kind of share a little bit what you're feeling and needing.
Do you think that you set a time? Do you think you say to the family, okay, you know, Sunday at 6 o'clock after dinner or before dinner, we're going to sit down and talk about this, versus just bringing it up in natural conversation and maybe catching somebody off guard?
Yeah, I think it's what can be most helpful is kind of feeling the vibe of your family. So if you're a family that sits down at dinner and really talks through like important things or talks through details, that can be a time to do it. And it can also be more relaxed as you're functionally thinking about it. So especially for like kids or teens, that tends to be much better if it's more casual. So being thoughtful about your timing, but when it's just the two of you, or there aren't other people around, or it feels like a safe group, that's when you would just kind of toss it out. And sometimes just that one sentence, and then they can think on it, reflect on it, is best. And other times for people, like if it's parents or older adults, like sitting down and talking through it can be really helpful. Let's think through the details. Let's give time. Let's give that space and think through it. Yeah.
Quickly before you go on that list of transitions, is there another transition in there that kind of jumps out at you as something that may be really impacting people who are watching at home right now?
That's a great
Life changes,
question.
maybe moving out of the house they've been in for decades and downsizing or something like that.
I even think like switching jobs, which oftentimes people, if you're getting let go of a job, you're like, yeah, whatever, move on. You don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that what I'm highlighting, I think the key piece, whatever the change is, I think the key piece to me, Chris, is like allowing yourself to grieve what is going to be different. So even though if it's a really positive thing, being able to grieve what you miss. And so if somebody's having a baby, like knowing that you're going to love that baby, and you might grieve like the simplicity and the romance that you had. Or if it's like so excited about that job, well, I'm gonna grieve this office, or I'm gonna grieve this drive. Like, thank you for being so as you're transitioning, thank you for being my drive. Thank you for being my office. Or especially if you're moving out of your home, like taking that time in the home to like honor what it's meant to you. So I think that giving yourself permission to grieve and then celebrate.
It, as it always is, it comes down to actually confronting it and
feeling.
instead of just tucking it back away in another one of those compartments somewhere. Dr. Ryan, thank you.
My pleasure.
Good to see you as always. Nystrom and Associates provides care in the fields of psychiatry, psychology, family therapy, and more. If you're struggling with stress, anxiety, depression, addiction, stress over transitions, you can reach out to them. We post a link for you on our website, minnesotalive.com.